Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. Hello, baseball fans. It's Monday, and welcome to the Locked On crossover between Locked On MLB and Locked On Diamondbacks. I am your co-host for today. My name is Paul Francis Sullivan, but as you can see from my lower third, please, I'm begging you, call me Sully. And hosting with me today is
Millard Thomas at Creator Thomas 24 for my personal account on Twitter, or just look up Locked On Diamondbacks on both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle.
That's right. And this is being dropped on the 11th day of April. Our true love gave to us a full slate of major league games. Oh, yes.
We're back.
No more talking about lockouts. No more making predictions. No more pretending spring training games count. No more saying, why don't they sign this guy? We're talking games, talking games, talking games. We have the rights to that song because I just made it up. Hey, where it's Monday, every team has played a game and played a few games. Incredible. And we could break it down. In fact, were you at a game today?
I was.
So tell us, you're you and I, you're the only one who's been to a ball game this year. Break us down. Was it fun?
The environment was very fun. Surprisingly, Chase Field, most of the time, it's not too crowded. Most of the time, it's a sea of the other team. But I went there today. Felt like it was more 60-40, 65-35 D-back to Padres fans. It was a pretty full stadium. Not maxed out or anything, but over 50% capacity, 65% capacity. Felt pretty full in there. Environment felt pretty good. But the D-backs got shellacked by the Padres today, 10-5. So that wasn't too fun. But it was great to be back at a ballpark for the first series of the year.
Now, let's just say one thing about it, because people say we spend way too much time, that we clearly have an Arizona bias, as all the media does. But let's just be
too much time.
It wasn't a great weekend for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but it was an interesting weekend in that it seemed like everybody wanted to no-hit the Arizona Diamondbacks this weekend.
Yeah.
And they managed to pull off a win in a game where they were being no-hit into like the seventh inning. The season started off with a bang. It didn't start off with a bang. It started off with a beer.
Yeah, it started off with a Seth beer. That was the only fun moment of this whole series, was that walk-off win on Thursday, because if that doesn't happen, we probably should have been swept this series with getting no hit in almost half the games. No, the offense was pretty much non-existent in every game, and the Padres pitchers looked dominant against this D-backs lineup. So thankfully, we got that Seth beer walk-off. Otherwise, this whole weekend would have been a wash.
You know, when Manaea threw the 7 no-hit, Darvish threw 6 no-hit innings in the first game. Yeah. Then Manaea threw 7 no-hits in the second game, and San Diego held on to win that. And I was I was visiting some friends, and we were checking our phones to see, is it going to be a no-hitter? Is it going to be a no-hitter? And then when I saw that the Padres won the game, all I could think of was, well, Padres avoided a sweep.
Yeah. Thankfully, the only reason those guys didn't get a no-hitter is because it was their first start of the season, so they had to be taken out the game, and they weren't able to pitch longer. So if I don't know about Darvish, because that guy, he only threw like 50% strikes. He was like 51 of 90 pitches were strikes, but Manaea seemed pretty locked in. So I think if Manaea had the full leash, I think he might have thrown a no-hitter that night.
Yeah, I mean, it was, there were a lot of people wondering what kind of team the Padres are going to be this year, especially, losing Tatis. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this to be mean, but a really nice way to start your year is to start against a team like Arizona. It's kind of like Tampa Bay starting the season off with Baltimore. Today, we're recording this on Sunday. On Sunday, Tampa Bay did indeed finish their sweep of the Baltimore Orioles. The final score was 8-0. Now, an interesting thing is when you forfeit a game, it's officially labeled as a 9-0 loss. And what this means, if the Rays scored one more run, then officially the Orioles shouldn't even bother showing up. It would have been the exact same result if they just stayed at home or stayed in the hotel room and just ordered in room service. Wander Franco had another day, getting 3 hits. Lau, is it Lau or Lowe? I always get confused. He went
I
2
think
for
it's
2 with a
Brandon
home run.
Lowe.
Yeah, Brandon Lowe. The interesting thing about because obviously you had a shortened spring training, so no one's going to go more. I mean, Mania going to 7 innings against Arizona that was Saturday night, right? It was on
Yeah.
Saturday. It was it was Friday night. It was
No,
Friday night.
Friday.
That's right. It's Friday.
Got me
Sorry, I got a little
confused.
confused there. So
Confusing
that's
me.
probably the longest a pitcher's going to go is 7, and that's going to be a remarkable situation. The
And he was
interesting,
moving efficiently, so he was
yeah,
able
yeah,
to.
he was pitching a great ball game. Today, you know who the starting pitcher was for Tampa Bay against Baltimore?
Who
Was
was it? I don't know.
Corey Kluber, who
Oh,
threw the
was
no
it?
hitter, for the Yankees last year, two
Former
times
Yankee.
two times Cy Young Award winner. If one of those Indians players hit a home run in the bottom of the 9th to clinch the World Series, Kluber probably would have been the World Series MVP. Even though he got torched in Game 7, he won the other 2 starts, and they had to rest. They had to ride him like a rented car because they lost Carrasco and Danny Salazar just before the playoffs. But yeah, he had some injuries. He pitched effectively last year before getting injured again with New York. The Rays got him for a song, and if they get a decent season out of Corey Kluber, getting a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, and finding ways like, no, we're not going to use you. We're not going to use you like a workhorse. We had 5-6 innings out of you. He pitched a shutout into the 5th. They lifted him after 4 2/3 innings. But if Kluber is okay and stays relatively healthy, what a pickup that could be for the Rays. It just shows you exactly what the team is. They just fill in the holes with either veterans you thought were retired or guys you've never heard of who wound up pitching, solid.
Yeah, that would be a huge swing player for them. I didn't think their rotation was super strong coming into the year. They still got McLennan and probably Shane Baz as well. Hopefully, Kluber could kind of be a bridge because is the Glasnow still expected to come back maybe at some point this year? So if he does, I don't know. We'll see if he comes back in the second half of the season. So maybe Kluber could just hold on till Glasnow comes back in the season. But from the Orioles' perspective, I know their main guy, Cedric Mullins, has been struggling a little bit to start the year. I think he had like 7 strikeouts and like 11 at bats this weekend. So not too good of a start from him. But if you're Tampa Bay, like you said, it's kind of like the San Diego Padres situation where you get a pretty easy opponent to start the year. And another team that was kind of like that this past weekend was the New York Mets opening up against the Washington Nationals. And I thought they had a pretty nice opening series with all their new additions really paving the way for them today or
Yeah, in
this whole
fact,
weekend.
it was a slightly mismanaged 8th inning by Showalter that allowed the Nationals to score 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th and salvage a single game from the series. He brought in Williams to relieve. And at this point, you can kind of understand their points where you're like, you want to see what a team can get done. That's my son making a quick cameo on the podcast in the background.
Hello, son.
Say, hey, Maddie. But it was the Nats were able to squeeze a game out of that. But other than that, a lot of things went right for the Mets. A lot of good pitching, some timely hitting, a grand slam by Pete Alonso.
Yeah. Some things went wrong. A couple of things went wrong.
Well, yeah, let's go. Yeah. That's what I was leading up to. But all anyone wants to talk about is a certain hit by pitch to Francisco Lindor. And Lindor, by the way, homered today. So he's back in the lineup. He homered today. So
okay, I didn't even see that.
Yeah. Whenever I see anyone go down to it, this is much more for me for basketball than for baseball, but I still have that same thing that when I see an injury or someone go down, my initial thought is, oh my God, their career's over.
Yeah, they're done for the season.
That's it. And anyway, so talk us a little bit through reviewing the Lindor gate.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it because the day before, like Pete Alonso, he got like hit in the face as well. So he was able to stay in the game. I think they might have taken him out. I don't even really remember, but nothing really spiraled out of that. But then see back-to-back days where another one of your star players gets hit in the face. Now, bench is clear. We get the emotions going a little bit. And thankfully, Lindor's okay. They did the x-rays. They did the concussion test. He was okay. But that Pete Alonso grand slam, like you said, he had that sweet little bat flip where he spun the bat around, threw it in the air. That was a crazy moment. Their new additions have been crazy. I think Escobar, Canna, Starling Marte, I think they have 13 hits combined so far to start the year. Max Scherzer and Chris Bassett have like combined 14 strikeouts to start the year. So you look at all the new additions for the Mets. They have started the season hot. They have started the season on fire. Of course, like the other two teams we've talked about, they had a pretty easy opponent in the Nationals to start the year. But either way, if you're an NL East fan, if you're a Mets fan, you're pretty happy to see this opening series against the Nationals go the way that did.
Well, look at I think we can all agree that it's a surefire bet that a team like the Orioles or a team like your Diamondbacks may not be big time contenders later in the year, where we see some of these teams contending all year long. If you're going to make any bets, go to Bet Online. It's your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. BetOnline.net is where you can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering info, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more of the trends and actions. BetOnline.net. It's where the game starts. Thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen every day. Locked On MLB Prospects should be your third listen, because Locked On Diamondbacks should be your second listen.
Yeah.
Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the Major League Baseball stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about the team that I picked to go to the World Series from the American League. They had a very, very strange first few games. My pick to win the Cy Young Award, Jose Barrios, couldn't get out of the first. It was a 7-0 hole that the Blue Jays fell into against Texas. And then the bats woke up and they wound up winning a blowout. Not a blowout, but a wild slugfest. And then yesterday you had another not exactly well-pitched game. You know, the Jays took an early lead, and then the Rangers had a big rally. Jays wound up holding on. Today, Toronto jumped ahead to a 7-1 lead, and then wound up losing the game. Or I'm sorry, 6-1 lead, and then wound up losing the game 12-6, as the Rangers bats just absolutely they went bananas. Big Heim was the big star for Texas. Obviously, it's early. Ryu did not look good today. Rios did not look good today, but they wound up winning the series. And this is one of the reasons why I think when you see a team really pitch as badly as you possibly can and still take 2 out of 3 from the series, that's why I'm seeing positive things to happen to Toronto, that this turned into a net positive for them, even though they got horrible performances from their number 1 and 2 starters.
And that's because their lineup is freaking stacked. Even though you had their former All-Star on the other side, and Marcus Semien, who had a pretty good series himself, you're still stacked with Vlad Guerrero Jr., who hit his first bomb of the season today. And Bo Bichette, I mean, that dude is coming on. That dude is ready to be a superstar shortstop in Major League Baseball if he's not already. Teoscar Hernandez is one of the most underrated players of baseball as an outfielder.
And he had the huge home run. Teoscar hit the huge home run in the opening day comeback. He hit the home run that tied the game. When it was like, wow, are the Blue Jays coming back? And then he cranks the 3-run home run and they tied the game. So,
All-Star for them last year. Like, he's just kind of the forgotten guy when we talk about this Blue Jays lineup of boppers. Like, I feel like he kind of gets, overlooked, and he's just as good as any of them. So, you talk about that rotation. Barrios hasn't been good. Ryu, I mean, I have him on my fantasy team. I'm going to really have to consider dropping him or not, because I'm not too sure. I think Rios could be in the decline after what we saw last year, after what we saw today. I'm not too confident in him, but you still got Manoah. You still got Kevin Gausman, who had a great start as well. So from the Rangers, you already knew this was not going to be your season. You knew you were just spending money this offseason going up the middle, and you know your time is in a couple years. So you're not too mad to lose to the Blue Jays, but we knew the Blue Jays were going to be the most fun team in baseball entering the season. And so far through one series, they're living up to our expectations on that front.
By the way, I want to also bring up another, the Guardians. We all knew the Guardians were going to be able to pitch. And they had yet another day the other day where they lost in extra innings. And I'm not going to get into my hatred of the runner on second rule, which I hate with a passion of 1,000 suns. And to me, it ruined what was a very entertaining game between Kansas City and Cleveland, which was a 1-0 game in extra innings. Bobby Witt Jr. so far is living up to the hype. But I love it when it's like the first game, the Guardians had a well-pitched game, but they only scored like 1 or 2 runs. The next game, they get shut out, and they had another wonderfully pitched game in game 2. They wasted the Bieber start. They wasted the Plesac start. They just can't score a run. They can't get anything together. And then today, who did they hand the ball to today? The Quantrill. They handed the ball to Quantrill, and the offense said, why don't we wake up? And they scored 17 runs.
Yeah, because their offense, basically statistically has been just as bad as the D-backs offense so far through the first week in the series. And like you said, I think if you looked at I think the Twins offense has just been as bad as the D-backs offense. But the Guardians offense hasn't been.
The Twins scored 10 today too, so it's like they woke up as well. But you know who I'm getting to with the Guardians?
Oh, who are you getting to?
The greatest Cleveland Guardian of all time.
Okay.
3 games in. Stephen Kwan. Stephen Kwan, who is now batting 800. Today went 5 for 5. Went into today going 3 for 5. So he is now 8 for 10 as a major leaguer in his first 3 games. Also leads the league in walks. And today his line was he went 5 for 5 with a double, 4 runs scored, and sparking that offense. And he is having I'm going to go on a limb, and I think he will eventually slow down.
Yeah.
But someone picked up Stephen Kwan on their fantasy team a couple of days ago on a flyer and is paying off. I love when stuff like this happens. I call it Tuffy Rhodes syndrome, which was, I don't know if you know who Tuffy Rhodes is, but opening day 1994, Tuffy Rhodes was a completely unknown backup outfielder who hit 3 home runs on opening day for the Cubs. And everyone said, oh my God, we are now living in the Tuffy Rhodes millennium. And he was designated for assignment shortly after that because he had that one great game. But because it happened on opening day, it was magnified. I have no clue what Stephen Kwan is going to do. Stephen Kwan, who is from Los Gatos, California, and went to Oregon State University, home of the Beavers. He just has had I love stories like this. And, they, up and down the lineup, and Rosario went 4 for 5, and Jose Ramirez, Mercado hit a grand slam, Ramirez homers, like everything went wrong for the Royals pitching staff today. But I love stories like Kwan because, by the end of the year, he's probably going to have he'll probably have an OPS of the 600s and maybe sent back to the minor leagues. I don't know. But when it happens this early in the year and it becomes magnified, it's a wonderful, wonderful feel-good part. The thing that I find interesting is that the Indians have a 1-2 record with a positive 11 run differential because of the blowout today. I love when things like that happen.
I think they're leading baseball in scoring now after today's game of 17 runs scored, because I think they were like bottom 3 entering today, and now they're number 1 in runs scored. So yeah, it is pretty interesting to see. I mean, we've talked about this I think we kept saying Indians.
Guardians.
We talked about this Guardians. Yeah, I think we said Indians like 3 times. Talked about this Guardians team on a couple pods entering the season. We said we like their rotation. We think they got starters, but I was not a huge fan of their lineup. When we saw that the first 3 games where they were having great pitching performances but couldn't hit. But today they came through. But I was surprised to see that their star player in that lineup, Jose Ramirez, got that contract extension, because I thought he was going to be a guy that got traded. He's, in his mid-30s. He's a beast. He's still one of the best players of baseball, but that Guardians team does not seem to be going anywhere in the near future. So were you surprised to see Jose Ramirez get that extension?
No, I wasn't, for this reason. To be honest, I was surprised, but I understand it. The reason I was surprised is I just thought that they were getting so cheap. I mean, when you're bringing up the Orioles and the Pirates as the teams that you're right alongside with in terms of your payroll, I don't get too mad at the Orioles and Pirates now, because they know they're not going anywhere and they're trying to build for something. I get mad at Cleveland because they have a really good pitching staff. They have a pitching staff that could be a contender in the American League, because there is a lot of parity in the American League. And there is, you and I talked about this on the show, that the White Sox are heads and shoulders the favorite to win the Central, but not because they're a 100-win team. It's because they seem to be the only team that's trying. You
The
know,
Central's bad.
the Central is bad, and all it takes is a slump for the White Sox to suddenly make this division winnable. And when you have the Plesacs, the Calquantrels, the
The
Beavers,
Beavers.
the people who are, and they had a good bullpen last year too. If they had an
Class A.
if they had an okay, yeah, exactly. If they had a mediocre offense, they'd be an 85, 86 win team, which might be enough to be a wild card team. And so maybe they thought, hey, look, we're already a low budget team. Why don't we keep at least someone around that's a major league hitter? And if we have the Rosarios and everyone that we're trying to build this team around, maybe you can have a shot. And
Yeah.
so and maybe throw our fans a bone, because in the end they want to sell a few hot dogs and foam we're number one fingers at the ballpark. So I mean, look at I think that it made sense. I'm just surprised that they did it. It's the same reason I'm surprised that Hayes got re-signed by Pittsburgh, but at the same time they're trying to do the whole, hey, we're going to buy out your prime, we'll pay more for you now, and it may be super team friendly down the line, or you could get hurt or be a bust. And
Yeah.
so they're taking that risk that you'll be a millionaire now, you could be a multimillionaire later, but it's basically playing deal or no deal. He picked the suitcase that made him a millionaire now.
Yeah, if I was more surprised from Brian's Hayes' standpoint, just because he's so young, and if he does pop, like that's gonna be one of the best bargains in baseball. If he's really a legit star player, if he's a legit all-star player, it was like 8 years, 70 million for a guy of that guy's talent. If you think he's really gonna pop, that is nothing for what the Pirates are paying him.
But I think let me from his point of view, because you and I have. Well, okay, I can only speak for me. I've never been in a situation where someone offered me 70 million tomatoes, so there is that sense of, we have seen players who were supposed to be the great ones.
Yeah.
We have seen players who were can't miss prospects who miss badly, miss horribly. Jesus Montero, anyone who was talked about as the next Miguel Cabrera, who, by the way, Miguel Cabrera is creeping up to 3,000 hits.
Yeah.
So if he looked up and said, hey, look I know I may regret this later, but I also know I would regret it if I get hurt.
Like, I got a hypothetical for you. Like, I know you watch a lot of Red Sox games. Like, if after Benintendi's rookie season, if they gave him like an 8-year, $70 million extension, you would have felt like, yo, this dude is legit. He's killed his way through the minor leagues, hit a great rookie season, and giving him an extension like that is going to be a huge bargain for a guy who's going to be a cornerstone player for your franchise.
Yeah, I mean, there's that happens. That happens all the time, and that happens where you have. I mean, they're players who are number one picks, top prospects, and I mean, like Will Myers actually has had a couple of nice seasons, but when he was traded from Kansas City to Tampa Bay for James Shields and Wade Davis, two established major league pitchers, there are people calling Kansas City idiots because you're giving up a potential Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I remember
Will Myers.
I remember he couldn't even give up, like, John Lester wasn't worth enough of a Will Myers, because Will Myers had more value than, like, John Lester still in his prime.
And remember who Lester was dealt for, Yoenis Cespedes, who imagine if you had signed Cespedes, especially after the 2015 year he had with the Mets. I mean, players can flame out.
Yeah, and it seems like a trend that we're getting more and more often, because we saw Wander Franco recently. We've seen Fernando Tatis recently. Like, all these guys are signing their deals basically after their rookie season, if not, their second year in baseball, whatever. So these teams are trying to lock down these players if they think they're going to be a star in their future.
And also think, we're not taking it from the player's point of view. You may have a tremendous amount of anxiety of, I better not get hurt. I better not get hurt. I better not get hurt. And also, where am I going to be? Where am I going to be in a few years? You remove those anxieties. The team buys out their prime, and now they have a relaxed superstar.
Yeah, or you got someone like Fernando Tatis who's like, I got the money. Let me
I
go.
got the money. I bought a motorcycle.
Yeah. So that could be the downside. Again, these guys might do it.
And he bought that motorcycle. Do what he should have done?
He
should have bought some Built Bars. Look at Built Bars. They're the best tasting protein bars ever, and they've helped me keep my New Year's resolutions, as we are now in mid-April, still talking about New Year's resolutions. Hey, because you got things like the puffs. Have you tried the puffs?
I
Millard, have
have.
you tried? I know I asked you this last week, but I couldn't remember your answer. Have you tried the puffs?
I have. They're delicious.
Oh man,
Marshmallow. Mm.
oh, yeah, marshmallow, but protein infused marshmallow. They're great. They're covered 100% real chocolate. Great flavors like yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, and banana cream payo. I had to make them all rhyme. They're so good. I don't great flavors. All the bars are covered 100% real chocolate, but they're better for you than a candy bar. That's right. They're going out on a limb and saying they're more nutritious than a candy bar. But these have like 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a Snickers. Don't bother. Nowhere near. But they taste great. What's your favorite flavor, man?
I love cookies and cream. Anything that's related to Oreo, I absolutely love.
Oh, yeah, I love it. It's great. I love the raspberry because I love the tangy kind of raspberry along with the
Ooh.
chocolate. It's great. But if you like mint brownie, coconut almond, it's so many great flavors. And what they do is they're always coming out with great flavors. And what
All
they
the
do,
time.
their first thought is, how do we make this taste good? They're not like saying, let's cover broccoli with chocolate. They
No.
say, they get together and say, man, I don't know why they sound like Chong, but
like stoners.
yeah. What if
Hey
we,
man.
but man, what if we get caramel with this? And so that sounds great. Well, let's make it taste great first, then we'll make it healthy. And they pull it off every time. I don't know how they do it. I don't even care. It's like when I watch, if I watch a big superhero film, I don't want to know how they got Spider-Man to fly and with his web and everything like that. I just want to enjoy it. That's me with the Built Bars. That somehow made sense in my head. So does going to built.com and using promo code LOCK15, get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Well, you follow the National League West closely, and look at going into this season, there was one thing we knew, and that is the team to beat are the Colorado Rockies.
Oh yeah.
And they showed that by winning 2 out of 3 to the lowly Los Angeles Dodgers, who are just basically playing out the string at this point. Chris Bryant's been vindicated. This is going to be Rocktober. And your thoughts on whether or not the Rockies can repeat as World Series champions in 2023?
I don't care what Paul Holden says or what this first series happened, what happened in this first series. The Rockies are not going anywhere, and I still contend the D-backs are going to finish with more wins than the Colorado Rockies. We'll see, but the Dodgers did not start off the year right. They started off kind of slow. Gavin Lux looked pretty good at the plate so far during their opening portion of this MLB season, but Colorado, Chris Bryant, he looks pretty good so far in a Colorado uniform. He's going to be great up there at Coors Field. His offensive numbers are probably going to be pretty good for the first 3 years of that contract, but check out that second half of that deal because I think the back half of that contract, Rockies fans are going to be praying and hoping that they trade Chris Bryant. So we'll see. But so far, so good for Rockies fans. You beat the Dodgers. You should feel good. You're ahead of the D-backs in the standings. You're probably pretty close, probably pretty close to the top of the standings so far in the early portion of the season. So Rocky fans, you should rejoice, but don't worry, it won't last for long.
By the way, let's have our feel-good story to Hunter Green. Made his big league debut after toiling in the minor leagues all those years. Won his game today against the defending World Series champion Braves. He struck out. He struck out 7. He did allow a pair of homers, but he pitched 5 innings, got the victory. Not that I really care about win losses, but it's nice to get the victory. And the Reds doubled up the Braves in Atlanta and wound up splitting that series. So good for Cincinnati for holding their own. Like when you circle the schedule and you say, okay, the Reds, they've traded away everybody. That's going to be you and I were talking about how the Rays starting the season against Baltimore. Okay, that's a good way to get to build up some wins. I'm sure Atlanta fans. So we got 4 games against a Reds team that traded everything but the retired number of Johnny Bench. So this is going to be a walk in the park. And they're doubled up 6-3 today. And it was the Reds. I love it. Granted, it's early April, so let's not get too crazy. But it's nice to see when a team says, "Oh, you're not going to roll over us. We showed up to to spoil your victory lap here.
Yeah, we get checks to play baseball too. We know the Reds are not going to have a lot of positives on the season, but Hunter Green, the number 2 pick back in 2017, was hitting triple digits on the radar as well today.
Mhm.
So he was looking electric out there. Their second most positive thing probably from the last couple weeks. I know you're an older guy, Sully, so you might not be on TikTok, but Joey Votto has been a social media star the last couple weeks. He's been posting videos. He's been doing duets on TikTok. So if you don't have TikTok, Sully, go check it out because one of the most endearing things about the Cincinnati Reds, and it's probably one of the only things to follow with them throughout the rest of the season.
Well, I'm a huge Joey Gallo fan. I think he's I just think he's funny. I think the baseball should be promoting him all they can. If you have him on TikTok, great. A couple of the stars around there. Suzuki got a home run the other day
Suzuki.
for the Cubbies. Byron Buxton homered a
Yeah.
couple of times. It's nice to see that Buxton is is fulfilling that promise because he's one of these super fun players. Minnesota, my one thing, look, if they wound up losing that series to Seattle, Robbie Ray looked great. Ty France got some huge hits in their come from behind victory the other day. Minnesota, I just ask you this one thing, okay? I don't ask a lot. Wear the red uniforms with the TC on it at home and your red hats. I love those uniforms. I think they look great. But get red helmets too. When you wear red hats, red helmets. That's all I'm asking. I don't ask for a lot. As we're recording this, the Red Sox and the Yankees are playing each other. It's 4-3 Boston right now, so they're going to lose 5-4. But
Yeah.
a lot
been
of
making
Red
an
Sox
incredible comeback.
fans have been criticizing the bullpen, and Cora went one batter too long with Whitlock in the opener, allowed LeMahieu to homer, and then they had the bogus runner on second victory. The Yankees did on the Josh Donaldson single. And that's a really exciting way to win a game with a leadoff hit up the middle and a game. That's going to get the kids really interested in baseball. But a lot of Red Sox fans were trashing the bullpen. The bullpen actually pitched pretty well the first couple of games. They had to throw a lot of innings, and they pitched pretty dang well. The Red Sox' biggest problem is they didn't get the knockout punch in any of the games. Even in the game that's being played right now, they got up to an early lead. They got a bunch of innings, we got a few runners on base, and they haven't had that big sort of 5-6 run rally to put the Yankees on their heels. And those are the kind of losses, more so than when the bullpen blows the game, going like, you could have made this a blowout earlier. And it's odd that not getting the big hit is the thing that hamstrings the Red Sox. But in some way, that was a microcosm of last year where they either could score at will or they couldn't get the big hit. So we're seeing a little bit of the same thing happening today.
Yeah, fun fact, there's only 2 teams currently in baseball without a win. One is the Baltimore Orioles. The other is the Boston Red Sox. So by the time this podcast comes out, maybe the Red Sox have their first win of the season. But yeah, their offense is just kind of slow right now. But I'm not really too worried about it because once Devers starts getting hot as the season starts warming up, Xander Bogaerts, JD, Trevor Story's not even out there today. He's out with like flu-like symptoms. So these games are going to be close. It's Red Sox, Yankees. It's a rivalry. They know each other really well. So I'm not surprised that it's going late in, each game has been, you need a clutch hit late in these games. And the Yankees have been the team to pull it out. The Red Sox have not been the team to pull it out so far late in these games. So it just gone the Yankees' way. I'm not really making too much out of it because I think we've talked a lot before about how the Yankees and Red Sox kind of have a lot of similarities and parallels. So I think these two teams are going to be pretty close in the standings for most of the season. But you brought up the Twins before. Their offense has been terrible. But like you said, Byron Buxton leads the American League, or I think Major League Baseball in home runs so far with 3. His athleticism, his quick twitch. I saw Arm Lane tweet this out. He has combined it and put it all together. Finally, he looks like the real deal. So even though their offense has been terrible and basically been like the D-backs offense, Byron Buxton has been a man among boys, I guess, is the cliche they say.
And they're in the Central with the White Sox. I just want to bring up one last thing about the game on Sunday. The White Sox blew a lead late in the 9th inning, let the Tigers walk off on opening day. They tied the series with a victory the other day, and then this was one of those, all right, we're done messing around, and they blew the doors off the dump in Comerica Park with a 10-1 victory. And Vaughn hit his second home run. He's off to a dynamite start. Anderson came back. He had a great game. Abreu is still a monster.
Yeah.
He had another double today, drove in a pair of runs. Vaughn drove in 4 runs, hit the home run. It's, as I said, his second home run. It was a 3-run shot that he got. The White Sox, if they have the bats, they certainly have the arms, I think. And, first weekend in, it's fun. We got real games to talk about. So,
Yeah. And maybe a quick shout out to former White Sox Carlos Rondon because he went off in his first start for the San Francisco Giants.
yes, he
I
did.
think he had like 12 or 13 strikeouts in like 5 innings. So he went crazy for the Giants in his debut.
All right. Well, hey, look at this is fun to do a Monday talking about actual games instead of saying, what are we going to talk about? I don't know, maybe hot dogs or something like that, or maybe we'll talk about labor negotiations. No, we're talking baseball, and you and I are going to be doing this every Monday until the year 2061. We made
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
We signed the Wander Franco
Long time.
contract there. Hey, Millard, where can people follow you?
Hey, Sully, follow me at Twitter or on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account, or look up Locked On Diamondbacks on both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle.
You can follow me. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter. Sully Baseball podcast, not codcast. That's my special show where I talk about eating fish in Massachusetts.
Ooh.
The codcast.
Bacalao.
But Sully Baseball. It's late. We're recording this late on Sunday, and your pal Sully's running out of gas. I should have myself a Built Bar. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on both Instagram and on Twitter. And I'm not on TikTok, but if I think that could be the way I could make my millions of dollars, maybe I'll give it a shot. Talking about the first weekend of the season, trying not to make too big a deal out of it, but what? These games still count. This has been the Locked On crossover with Locked On Diamondbacks, Millard Thomas, Locked On MLB. Let's do our fist bump. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan.